Hello, everybody. Welcome to Quantum Witch Cafe, your safe place to talk about anything strange, paranormal, fringe, and just basically anything. I want to hear it as long as it's not something like, the weather or whatever. But we can talk about the weather. But, I prefer all the strange stuff. Tonight we have Tyler and we will add Chris in. So we have Tyler and Chris from Dockside Media. Surprise! Sorry. Do I need to drop you back out for a minute?
No,
Okay, sorry. We surprised him.
I'm
So,
good.
She's doing the intro right now, bud.
yeah, so
I was told all the cool people show up late to parties and stuff.
oh,
So that's what I was
absolutely,
trying to do.
absolutely. That's how our book club was earlier. We got some late people, and we love it. So yes, tonight I have Tyler and Chris to talk about their documentary, and I wish I would have put a picture up in the background, and I did not think about it until now. So I'm kind of crazy like that. I think of things at the last minute, and I'm like, that would be cool, but I didn't do it. So let's get started. Your documentary. I'm trying to send myself a picture of it so I can put it up, guys. Um, Well, it's called Conscious Contact Full Disclosure. And what it is my take on it was just it was a beautiful message to me because it kind of talked. This is like my take on it. You could tell me if I'm wrong. I want to go through the creative process too. But it's to me, it was really nice because it kind of joined together a lot of things that we hear are being communicated from these non-human intelligences to contactees or experiencers. And it tied it all together in such a way that it told this beautiful story of what they want to give us as far as it's like a gift of knowledge that will help us expand our consciousness. And that's kind of what I took away from it. But I want to hear your creative process. First of all, thank you to everybody, probably like ninth of all, because I said first of all like 9 times. Thank you to everybody in the chat for joining. I see Logan, Curious George, John, Arlene, Enzo. I appreciate you all. Anybody listening now, later, I really, really appreciate you. I'm going to apologize for my voice. And I'm a little bit off flow because I haven't been doing anything for a week. So please forgive me. But I just wanted to say thanks before we get started. Why don't you tell me about your journey, both of you? Why are you doing this? Because you have other documentaries that are based in fringe topics, paranormal topics. What made you decide to create such a unique production company, I guess?
Um, I would argue like maybe fate, destiny. It happened. Really, like Chris. Well, first off, Priscilla, thank you so much for having us on Quantum Witch Cafe. I loved talking to you a little bit in the not green room, but whatever you call the
Pre-show.
little thing where the back room, whatever.
Yeah.
I loved it, and just hearing your story, and this idea that you started this podcast because and this show because this is a topic that interests you, and this is an outlet for you to talk to others about it and share that interest and build a community, and that's just that fills me up. My filmmaking journey was like very similar. Started, I think, well, like in like 2 weeks, I think it'll be 6 years ago. But I'm a single dad, similar situation where at the time my son was like two, and yeah, happened to see a trailer come across the TV screen during a commercial. My brain that day, all of a sudden, just saw it as like, oh, dude, that's just like 1 second, 2 second, 3 second clips strung together to tell a story. I bet I could do that. And went out and did it with my cell phone and my son's like toy dinosaur, filmed like a fictitious trailer called The Dino Slayer, and that just ignited this passion. You can YouTube it, it's out there. But dude, I loved it. I was like, yo, this is insane. And so it went from that to just repetitively making videos, getting cameras, drones, remote pilot's license. It's like anything else. Like the more you do something, naturally the better you get at it. And Chris, he's a similar journey as an independent filmmaker for the past 6 years or so. And back in August here of 2021, he's like, hey, Tyler, do you want to start making documentaries, like paranormal documentaries? I was like, yup, let's do it. And it went from this idea, and instead of just thinking about it and talking about it, we just went and did it. The very first doc was we were going to do about a local urban legend called the Seven Gates of Hell, which is in Hellam, Pennsylvania, near where I live in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
It would have been easy to shoot. It's about like there's these 7 gates that appear on this property after midnight. If you go through all 7, after the 7th one, you're instantly transported to hell. I'm like, oh, dude,
Wow.
it's very interesting. It's closed.
Yeah.
We can interview some people, the property owners. We can go try it ourselves, etc. And then I happened to stumble upon Anjali's story on Reddit, and that was right at the beginning of August. I'm like, Chris, she's giving a press conference here in front of the Lincoln Memorial. I think it was August 17th, I want to say. And I'm like, man, dude, it's only 2.5-hour drive. What if we pivot? I'll go film that. People are going to be interested in it, and we can figure out what to do afterwards. And so I went and filmed that, and then one thing led to another, and we were led to Sue Walker, and then Clifford Mahouty.
Oh yeah,
Reverend
both
John Polk
amazing
and
people.
Lampy. Yeah, so it was crazy. I mean, if we would have sat down and scripted out, oh, dude, let's do a documentary called Conscious Contact Full Disclosure,
Yeah.
we just never would have got the story that we got, man. Like we just remained open and then just asked people if we could sit down with them and hear their story. Like we didn't guide them, we just let them share their story. I did all the filming, and then Chris, and I did editing on a bunch of the trailers, but Chris, he took all that footage, and he's just a beast when it comes to editing. And he strung it all together, like you said, to tell this beautiful story where there's a lot of overlaps and intertwining pieces. And that was kind of, and Dockside Media. I mean, if I think you check the timestamps and the receipts, I mean, we LLC'd that thing. Oh, so I think if the press conference was August 17th, August 16th, I think, is when it shows that we created the Dockside Media page. Because I'm like, Chris, we need to, take photos. We need to start landing people somewhere, and threw them some names. And we came up with Dockside Media, LLC'd it, and we just been running and gunning since.
That's amazing. So have you, how do you two know each other?
Oh, we don't. No.
You don't? Well, everybody meets online, even friends nowadays, right? Like one of my
Yeah.
best friends, I've only met her in person one time, and she's like a sister to me. So it's one of those things where I always, even friendship stories, I like to hear how people kind of ended up together.
We actually went, I think we were in elementary school together as well, but all through school, we weren't friends really. Like we were acquaintances. We didn't dislike each other. Tyler was one of the cool kids because he's super outgoing, and I wasn't. So we were never like friends. You know what I mean? We didn't hang out really or anything. I think we did try it out for the one, what was it called, talent show where we played Proud Mary, but we did not get in.
We didn't get ahead.
We did get. That was the end of our friendship.
I liked it. I thought we played well.
I thought it was all
You
right.
guys,
But
you're like, we thought we nailed it.
yeah, we thought we nailed it, but apparently not. Oops, my alarm's going off. So, we just started doing the filmmaking thing because both in the area, Tyler, we worked together on one commercial project before, and there's a local filmmaking thing called VidJam out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and I think we both entered stuff into that, and then saw that, hey, we knew each other, and we just started working together a little bit here and there, and I'm usually narrative filmmaking, so I made like 14 short films, and I'm working on a feature now, but that's what I always liked making, and just the idea of making a documentary sounded really interesting to me because narrative filmmaking is a really big undertaking that requires a lot of people generally to pull together a project, especially a feature length, and so I thought, Tyler, me and you could probably make a really interesting documentary and be something really fun to do, because there's a lot of creativity there, especially when you film these interviews and you come back and like I didn't even know what they said because I wasn't involved in any of the interviews for this one. So it was trying to piece together something that was compelling, interesting, entertaining, and that was the fun part for me. And as far as we approached like the supernatural stuff, that was because I like sci-fi and horror movies, so this is just the kind of stuff that interests me and I think is, one, entertaining but interesting as well. Not to say we won't maybe, do a different subject at some point, but these are just kind of things we're drawn to. So yeah, it's just
That's
it's a
awesome.
good yin and yang of for the team, because like I said, Tyler's super outgoing. I can say, Tyler, will you find people, and he'll call up people. He has no problems hearing no or nothing. I just don't have that in me to just randomly call up people and stuff.
Yeah.
So it works out really well. And he's got like this great marketing mindset where he does the social media and really engages
Oh yeah.
people. And that's really helpful when we're doing interviews to make people comfortable. So yeah, I think it works out really well. And I'm loving it so far. This is Conscious Contact was our first one, but I'm starting to edit In Plain Sight, which is our
Very
next
cool.
alien documentary.
Okay.
With
So I did see you guys
Yeah,
had some other things in the works. I wasn't sure if they were
yep,
released yet or not. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. That's cool though.
We have
Yeah,
one
and to
other
parlay
movie
off
out
that,
right now.
Chris
Yeah,
is it is a great yin and yang because Chris has like tons of experience and background in graphic design, right? So he's making these sick posters for
Oh
us.
yeah.
Like it's just like, oh man, if either of us tried to do this ourselves, we wouldn't be able to do it, and we wouldn't have the same end product. Just fact. Um, and so it was just this man, this beautiful thing where our paths crossed. Yeah, later in life, um, through filmmaking and worked on some stuff together, and it's just been awesome that the more we do this, yeah, just the better we get. And we love Conscious Contact, full disclosure, and just the fact, we hope it inspires people like you, Priscilla, like with what you're doing with your channel and trying to build this community. It's like, oh, dude, yeah, if 8 months ago, 9 months ago, we told you, oh, dude, we're gonna get a UFO alien documentary picked up for distribution. I don't like. I think I was the only one in the entire world that thought we had a shot, like Chris included. He's
yeah.
like,
I didn't think
It
so.
only takes one. It only takes one person to say yes though.
yeah. And so
Like one person to ask, one person to say yes. You're putting it out there, so
yep. So I think the sky's the limit for what you're doing as well.
I just like talking to people like like both of you. We were talking before and he's like, hold on, we can go on forever. Don't ask me too many questions now. But yeah, it's really, I love the fact that you guys reconnected later, and I love the interests, because I was that kid, I loved all the paranormal stuff and everything. And it's cool to meet more people like that, because it was growing up, it was kind of weird to be into all of it. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
you didn't really
Well,
have
that's
anybody to talk to about it. Wasn't like you said, like you couldn't imagine that an alien documentary or a movie about contact with extraterrestrials or non-human intelligence would get picked up, and here you are doing it. So I think that's great.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I think through this whole process is meeting these people and hearing their stories and their genuine experiences. It's like, oh man, we hope that we can help destigmatize these topics and allow
Yes.
people to just feel more comfortable just sharing it, right? Because like, oh man, I know, yeah, the brain is just a fickle thing, man, and we can easily discount an experience that we've had just because nobody will believe me. They'll think I'm
Right.
crazy. Maybe I didn't get enough sleep. I can't tell what that was. I mean, it was late. Like there's just a number of things where we can easily write it off. And I think the more that people talk about this stuff and this phenomena, hopefully we can help build momentum, and through that momentum, maybe we get more government pushes and and more and the scientific community looking into it more with things like the Galileo project and on
Yes.
globe. And so like we're hoping that we can, because like the world's like the universe is such a mystery. And if people 100 years ago were talking about, you'll be able to access every single bit of information in the palm of your hand instantaneously, and you'll be able to talk and communicate to anybody like people would have said, bro, you're nuts, get in an
Yeah.
insane asylum, it'll never happen. And here we are, right, talking on cell phones while flying in airplanes, like you can like go to the bathroom at 30,000 feet, like stuff that
Yeah.
our minds couldn't even conceive 100 years ago. So I always like contest, like, dude, in 100 years, what, what will
Right.
be commonplace that right now we just can't? It's not even on our radar.
And its consciousness is one of the next things, right, to develop with us. You had such great guests. How did you come up with your line of guests? I know you mentioned you saw, Angeli kind of burst into the scene from Reddit on the Twitter, and she
Hmm.
drew a lot of people. And you have, Sue, and you have what is the other gentleman's name one more time?
Clifford Mahouty.
Mahouty. I always mess up his name. Mahouty. Yeah, so he was an interesting, and he's been on other things, hasn't he?
He
I've
was
seen
in
Sue on something.
Yeah.
Ancient Aliens. He was in
Okay.
some other documentaries. He passed away. It might be like, I don't know, 3 or maybe even 4 months ago at this
Oh
point.
wow.
So it
So you
was
kind of have like some
insane.
of the
I
last.
think we were the last people to sit down with him, and it just gives like me chills. What an honor, right? To sit down with this Zuni Pueblo elder, man, that had
Yeah.
knowledge passed down from you know generation and thousands of years of this like oral knowledge about star people and his own experiences, and then some of the stuff that he like said, um, now knowing that he has gone, and passed, it's just
Yeah.
it's very
That's amazing.
interesting. And the stuff going on like globally, just current events and stuff. I don't know. It some of it lines up with what he was
Oh
saying,
yeah.
and it's very, very, very fascinating. But so how again, we saw Anjali. My brain sees, oh man, former Department of Defense intelligence officer is going to talk about extraterrestrials that she met in a base in a mountain in the Mojave Desert. I'm like, well, dude, I mean, it just takes a tremendous amount of courage to go do that in a public forum in that place. Um, so I'm like, well, yeah, we need to go, we need to film it. And then same deals, like I reached out to her, so I was able to put a lav mic on her, which is why we had clean audio. I ran 3 cameras and a live stream off the phone during that whole event, so I had a lot of fun running around. It was like
Yeah.
it was super crazy. Like I love that stuff. I love the whole filming process. And from there, then I had seen that Sandia Wisdom is the Twitter handle, but that's Sue Walker and the Ponte
Right.
extraterrestrials. They're communicating through there on Twitter, and so I'd noticed that the Ponte confirmed or corroborated that there was an extraterrestrial base in the mountains in the Mojave Desert. I happened to like notice a tweet during when the whole Jolly thing when it was ramping up there over the summer or end of summer, early fall, and then so reached out to Sue. I think I was out there interviewing her a couple weeks later. She led to Clifford Mahouty, which I was out interviewing him a couple weeks after that. And while I was out interviewing Clifford Mahouty, it was like, oh, the Reverend John Polk's in the area. He's 3 hours north, whatever. I'll just
Very
go up and
cool.
interview him as well. And then I got
Yeah.
Lampy. And then I'm like, oh, after John, I'm like, oh, well, I'm only like 2 hours from the Grand Canyon. I got to go up and sleep there, like, so I can wake up
It
so I can
sounds
go
like an
interview
amazing
Clifford.
series of events. And they say when you're doing something you're supposed to be doing, that it just all kind of happens like that. It's like a cascade, one thing after another. But that's amazing. How'd you like the Grand Canyon?
So breathtaking. I mean, it's great to be in my, mid, I guess, going into late 30s or whatever, and just see these things that, as a child, you just really don't appreciate. And just
No,
remembering
not
my
at all.
dad saying, like we'd go to Gettysburg, right, as a kid, and go on a tour of the battlefield, and just get bored after not too long. And now Chris and I, we just got the Ghosts of Gettysburg picked up, where we're camping out on haunted grounds there, shooting
So
B-roll,
cool.
and like, and to really
I
just
love stuff like that. That's like my dream, is to do more like paranormal investigation.
come with us.
Just,
Follow Dockside Media. We're asking, we're going to do a camp out at a haunted cemetery. You're welcome
oh
to
my
come
goodness,
along.
that would be so cool. I'll be on that side of the country. I'm moving to Baltimore, so I'll be a little
There you
closer.
go. There
I'm
you
in
go. Perfect.
Kentucky right now, and I haven't been able to check out. There's a Gates of Hell cemetery here. There's tons of battlegrounds. There's also Waverly Hills, which I was supposed to do an overnight paranormal investigation, and then I got COVID, which
Mm.
sucked. But yeah,
Hmm.
I really want to do stuff like that. I'm slowly getting like equipment. That's like my next thing I want to do, and it's like a weird goal, but I just I find it all anything weird, unknown. Anything that scares people, I find fascinating for some reason.
It's
I'm just a spooky kid.
it's a super cool experience. Like we got to go and camp out over a battleground in Gettysburg where, people were buried and do a seance and all kinds of stuff.
Oh,
It was just
wow.
insane.
So
Like it's once in a lifetime kind of stuff.
who did you do a seance with? Are you a witch or do you know anybody that's a witch?
We had a medium there.
Okay, medium. Okay.
Yeah, and she did the ESPYs method.
Estes.
And we also, Estes, and we also had a spirit box as well. And
Love
so,
those, yeah.
yeah, it was just a bunch of really interesting. And I knew nothing about this world. Like I always liked that kind of stuff, but I
Yeah.
was, I'm way more skeptical. Between Tyler and I, he's a bit more open minded than I am. So that was even more interesting to me because as we put these documentaries out, like I'm telling people that I've known for a while, and then we made this, and they're like, "Oh, really?" Like I didn't know they even had interest in this kind of
Well,
stuff.
people love this sort of stuff. They're
Yeah.
afraid to talk about it.
Exactly. So
Everything
that's
is
what
stigmatized.
right.
If it's not straightforward, I'm going to church Sunday, I'm eating roast at nighttime, and it's
Right,
got to
exactly.
be so shallow out in the world. So you don't want to say like, "Hey, I'm a medium and somebody's spirit visited me." You know what I mean? Or you don't want to say, "Oh, I
100%.
went and
Yeah.
camped out,"
Yeah.
or "I like ghosts. I want to go ghost hunting." People are gonna be like, "That's weird." So many people are afraid of the unknown, so I don't blame
Yeah.
them. But then there's weirdos like us that are like, "That's scary. Let's do it." Like,
Exactly. Yeah, no, it was super
It's an
fun. It was
absolute
super
rush.
interesting. Yeah.
It
Yeah, I'm-
is. I mean, and that stuff we're staying up all night. Like
Yeah.
again, I mean, we're here to talk about conscious contact, full disclosure, but
absolutely.
think
Sorry.
the Ghost of Gettysburg, real quick, is just it's nuts. Like we filmed almost the entire thing in like
Weekend.
24 hours.
Yeah.
We got all these interviews, did the camp out, got up the next morning at daybreak, out onto the battlefield, filming B-roll with reenactors, so it looks so great. So it's just this idea of like, oh man, dude, we hope we
Very
inspire
cool.
people. Like, dude, you can do a lot more than you give yourself credit for. Like, if you just straight up try.
You jumped right in, though. You jumped right in, and I really admire that because I don't know, like sometimes when you have these ideas, it just rolls around your head forever, and you get lost into the details. Or I can't remember. Somebody said this about arguing, but your message gets lost in your mess. But to me, that's my head. Like when I have these ideas, my whole idea will get lost in the mess of details. So I'm very happy that you two just were like, let's do this. Let's jump in.
Yeah.
And get it going. I'm going to say thank you to John really fast. He just supported the channel. Thank you so much, John. You're always so supportive when you're here. I really appreciate you. I appreciate everybody, but that is above and beyond, sir. I appreciate you.
Nice.
I just want to give a shout out. I don't have I don't have a lot of followers, so I like to
Shout them
appreciate
out.
people
Shout them out.
as it
Yeah,
comes,
no, it's awesome.
And those
So
people
let's-
don't realize how much like those small gestures mean to creators.
Oh yeah.
Like
Oh yeah.
like that right there can make your entire week. Man.
Oh, I
So,
mean, like I
John,
literally spend it on coffee. Like, you guys are you a parent, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I literally spend it on coffee. So
Yeah.
and
Yeah. I
coffee
hear
or
ya.
books.
Coffee or
So let-
alcohol. Or yeah, books, sure.
Mega pints is the thing, now, gentlemen.
Yeah, that's true. That's
So
true.
we're talking about conscious contact. I'm sorry, I could talk to these guys. I don't get to talk to a lot of people. So when I do, I'm like, oh, let's talk about ghosts. But you're definitely gonna have to come back on to talk about that documentary when
love
it's
to.
done.
We will.
But right now we're talking about conscious contact. So I did have one question, and I told Tyler about it. And I felt very protective over Anjali when everything was happening with her. And there was a lot of stuff, like a lot of people still kind of gave her grief at the end. And we've got people going out of their way to disprove her and throw her out on the bus. But here's the thing that I noticed, even if they're right, or if she's right, or if she's telling the truth, her message that she gave was so beautiful.
Yes.
So why did you decide to make, because you had a lot of footage from Anjali in there, and it's a controversial move. I enjoyed it. I thought what she was saying was gorgeous, and it fit in with everybody else's messages of peace and contact and all that beautiful stuff. So what made you decide to keep that as a main component of your documentary versus kind of shying away from somebody controversial?
Sure. I mean, well, for one, we're not trying to make any sort of narrative. Like, we didn't go into this with an idea of the story in mind. We just, heard her speech. we captured these interviews. And what sticks out to me is that she's very passionate and she believes what she says. She is a sincere individual. And her last message, like, I think is probably the best thing in the movie. And it comes through so passionate, and I love it. And like you said, you can take whatever you want to believe, because people come in with all their preconceptions to everything in life. And at least as I get older, it's something that I try and change. Like I started therapy like a year and a half ago, and with that and with like meditation and stuff, really try to change that mindset of your perception in life, because I feel like so many people live in a bubble and they have this daily thing and they see the same stuff over and over again. And so they come to something and they're like, I know what that is. So like I started doing hypnosis at therapy, and when my therapist said, let's do hypnosis, I was like, okay, because I see it in a movie and I'm like, you're going to like wave something in front of my face and I'm going to fall asleep. Like I don't think it's real. Like I don't believe
like
that.
The old school pendulum, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's me though. Like I came into it with already like these preconceived notions of what this thing was. And then when I did it, I found out it's not that. It's something different, and it works. It's something real. And so that kind of opened my mind to a lot of things, because I didn't live in Jolly's life. I didn't experience the things she did. She did. And so I can discount her message, or I can at least keep an open mind to it. And so that's kind of the whole goal by the end of the film, is like you hear these people's stories and their personal experiences. And to me, they all come out very sincere and legitimate in that they believe everything they're saying. And so I didn't experience it, but I am open to it now. And that last message that Njali says, you can take whatever your beliefs are about aliens or spirituality or whatever, but it's a really positive message. And I'm not like a religious person at all, but she talks about things in a way that I'm like, yeah, like it's inspiring in a lot of ways. So I was really proud of that. I think that's something me and Tyler talked about a few times, where it was like, man, this end of this movie, like we really like brought it home. Like Tyler says, like the end of Rocky or something, like, or like you're like running up Rocky 4. Yeah, like with Dolph Lundgren.
Now I'm hearing the
up,
song
like,
in my head.
Yeah, and I'm like, damn.
If you can't hear the song in your head, you're too young to be listening to this.
That's right. Yeah. So, but that actually kind of shaped the Dockside media thought process in a lot of ways, I think. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn here, Tyler, and you can disagree if you want. But like we kind of shoot for a open, positive message by the end of our things, where it's just like hopefully a little inspiring, because we can make a documentary where it's just like critical and narcissistic and like, you know, like just toxic.
But
in a lot of
there's so
ways.
much of that out there. There's so
And
much of that out there.
I just don't want to leave that in the, like I don't enjoy that. Like I don't want the toxicity. I want to leave a positive message. So that's why, like, and yeah, we have gotten things about Njali. We've gotten reviews and stuff about it, and that's fine. Like people can have their own opinions. I don't care. I thought her message was interesting and compelling, and so I think I like it. Like I like it in there. That's and it's our movie, so
it fit with it. No, I thought it was beautiful, and I just had to ask because I know other people are going to ask.
And the other
we
thing
knew
to
that
keep in
going
mind
in.
is we had this thing done at the beginning of November.
True.
Right. So if you watched it then, we're in a whole different time frame now. It took us this long to get it picked up for distribution, and then another 90 days after we got it picked up. Right. So we wish. Well, whatever. It just, it's been done since November 1st of 2021. So that's another reason why we left her in. And yeah, it's a great message. I mean, like I was just raised to be respectful of everybody, man.
Absolutely.
Like, regardless of what their opinion, if they're not out there intentionally trying to harm people, dude, like respect their opinion. If you walked in their shoes and had their experiences, you'd probably think and act a lot like they do.
Yes, and it's also like you can disagree, but you don't have to go out of your way to maim somebody. Do you know what I mean? Like I know some very utilitarian people, and it's this is this and this is that, or they have the whole Kantian thing going where they're like, oh well, all this will lead to something better. It's just the delivery of people's disagreements is so disrespectful now. So I'm glad that you guys stayed true to
Right.
your vision and kept her and her message in there.
I mean, that's the internet now.
Absolutely.
There's just like a level of anonymity or something there where people just say some of the most like horrible stuff because they think they can get away with it or whatever. But you gotta like, as a creative, you have to sift through that stuff and find the actual like helpful critiques. Like I'm always open to hearing critiques about our stuff and how we can improve and whatever, like or an honest opinion. But if it's just like an ad hominem attack, like you have to ignore it because you get them. Like everybody gets them when you put
Oh,
out yourself on
absolutely.
the internet. So
Oh my God, my first week on Twitter, I was like, are you serious? Like, I'm minding my own damn business.
yeah,
People go out of their way just to pick on people. But you know how it is. Like you said, that's just the world, and people have grown, just comfortable with being like that on an online platform. So
yep,
I
And
want to
that's
ask,
and the world's just so big. It's that like, dude, it doesn't matter what you do.
right?
yeah,
50% of the population most likely is going to disagree with you. If I'm hitting 500, if I'm batting 500, dude, I'm loving life, dude. If one out of every two people I come across is picking up what I'm putting down,
Yeah.
I'm crushing it, dude, because like just the way the world is very polarized today, man. And so yeah, we're just trying to put out good vibes, man, good energy into
Well,
the
you're doing
world.
it. You're
And
both
we're not trying.
you both seem like you're like really good people because I saw you on Savi's channel, Savita.
oh, cool.
We
So
loved it,
and that was awesome to see you guys there because I was like, I've never talked to these guys. I'm just gonna have them on, and it's a little nerve wracking for me to meet new people. Believe it or not, I mean that's what I do, I guess, every week. But you know how it is.
yeah.
But
Oh yeah,
yes, what I want to ask. So conscious contact. This is a very bold thing to make, just the whole contact situation and bringing the consciousness aspects into it. And I'm about it. Like my grandma was a medium. I have the same gift. I'm a witch. I study different religions. I'm very open-minded to a lot of things. But what does it mean to you? Did you have either of you had any contact experiences or even just UFO experiences, like light in the sky type of thing?
go ahead, Tyler, because you had a few.
Um, you let's see. So like UFOs and again, this is why I assume that there has to be thousands upon thousands of legitimate sightings for every like one that is reported to MUFON, right? Because I'm out on doing a camp out by myself for Secrets of the Sasquatch, another documentary we got picked up. That's coming out the beginning of July here. But I'm out there setting up this tent. It's like 20 degrees out. I happen to see this like UFO tracking from like right to left. I'm like, oh, dude, what is that? It's a bright light, but who knows what it is? And then it like stopped and was like dropping, stop, drop, stop, drop, stop. I'm just like, what? Fumble for my phone to get video. And by the time like I get the video out, like it's down past the tree line. I'm like, oh man. But like I didn't have time to really think it through because like if I didn't get a fire, if this tent finished and like build a fire ring and get a fire started, like I was gonna die. Like I needed, like it was 20 degrees, like I'm out in the middle
Oh
of
yeah.
nowhere by myself. So, and I never reported. I think I made like a Reddit post or something like that. Hey, did anybody see this? But like I didn't file any report to MUFON, and I'm like an outgoing guy, right? I don't have problems doing that. So it's like, oh well, if I'm not doing that, geez, there's it must darn near take an act of God to get somebody to actually file a formal report.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, so there's that. Before I went out and interviewed Sue Walker, on the website officialfirstcontact.com, the Ponte dictated to Sue a telepathy 101 primer. So it's like a little study guide on how to begin practicing telepathy. So for due diligence sake, I I read through this telepathy 101 primer. Tried it 2 times. Both times had odd experiences. The one, like this extraterrestrial being, like appeared in front of me. Like my eyes were closed, but it seemed like they appeared 5 feet in front of me, which was super trippy because as a filmmaker, like whenever I picture a scene or something, like it's up in my mind's eye, it's like up here. It's like not physically in front of me. So it was like real weird.
Oh, that
And
makes
the
sense.
image was like not like, yeah, afterwards, like my brain, I'm like, okay, well, like where would I have pulled this image from? What movie, what magazine, what piece of pop culture? And it was like
Right.
a completely original image of an extraterrestrial. So it was real wild. So who knows? Maybe I did have some sort of contact. And the second part was, during trying telepathy the second time, feel like water droplets dropping on me. I'm like, what? Sitting under a tree. I guess it's raining. I don't know. Like, open my eyes, like, confirm there's actual water, like a couple droplets on my arm. I'm like, yo, this is weird. Hairs on the back of my neck standing up. I'm like, yo, I got to finish this up and go over and look in the pool and make sure I see, like, droplets of water and confirm this is raining. I'm not losing my mind. And yeah, wrapped it up. Go look in the pool. It's like not raining. I'm like, oh, dude, I
I've
don't
heard
know.
people
Maybe the
talk about that
tree.
before. The
Yeah,
drops of water.
yeah.
That's it's not common, but it is a thing. Like I've heard of other people talking about that, and it's just like somebody told me it was the way that you're registering entities coming through, whether it be ghosts, spirits, whatever you want to call it, or interdimensional beings. So,
Right on.
which makes sense because
So
so many people report that
yeah,
before having an experience and not just an ET experience, like a spiritual experience or
yeah. So dude, there was those. There was another thing after I interviewed Sue. She had said, "Hey, like at the end of the interview, she's just like, hey, I found like a lot of the people who come and interview me, they the Ponte happen to visit them afterwards, especially if they like declare out loud that they're okay with it." And so I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'd be okay with it. I'd be fine." She's like, "What about your son?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, he'd be fine with it." And sure enough, I get back and there was like, I think it happened the second or third day after I returned, but like my son's medication disappeared like 3 times. It was like real weird. His inhaler disappeared like while we were getting ready to do this like physical therapy thing. We're looking for it. Reach down in this recliner, pull out this slinky that had been lost for a year. We had reached in this recliner 100 times since last year. Never any
oh
slinky in
wow,
there. The slinky pops out. My son's like, "Dad, what? Where?" And then the inhaler pops up like a few feet away on the floor. I'm like, bro, we did a standard CSI grid walk. It was not
yeah,
there. Where did this come from? Um, and so just some weird odd thing. And then my son's getting a little nervous and stuff. I'm like, bro, hey, I'm just trying to call it, dude. It could be a number of things. You know what I mean? Um, uh, and I said, dog, on the, he was like, well, and somehow the Ponte came up or whatever, extraterrestrials. And thankfully, aliens were introduced into Fortnite like last
oh
summer. So
yeah.
he was already up to speed on aliens. So it
Well,
was,
even Paw
it wasn't
Patrol
a
has aliens. Like I remember watching
Exactly.
one.
It's not a
So
tough talk these days. So he was already up. And so he knew I was interviewing Sue, and I just keep it obviously very low key. But it was, he was like, oh, dude, what if they're going to
and
harm
how
us? I
old is
said,
your son
bro,
now?
he's 8.
Oh wow,
He was
okay,
7 at the time.
that's
But
awesome.
he's like, oh, what if they harm us? I said, bro, if any extraterrestrials were going to harm us, they would have already done it, bro. We'd be gone. And I said, here's the deal. Yo, Ponte, if you are out there messing with us, yo, please make Dad the best filmmaker in the world. And dude, I'll be damned if we didn't get 3 documentaries picked up since then for distribution. And the fourth
Oh
one,
wow.
we just finished filming it. And Chris is like starting to edit it here. So I don't know if the Ponte are out there, bro. They helping me out because I've been open to it. So you guys can be open to it as well.
Yeah, you'll have to put me in contact with Sue. Even before hearing that, I would love to talk to her. So, um, and she just seems like such a peaceful person, and her artwork's just gorgeous too. So like, and the how she learned how to do the artwork just blows my mind. On top of it all, like
It
that'd be like me. Like I'm horrible at drawing. Like I'm not a talented person when it comes to art. So if one day I was drawing these aliens that look super realistic, like her images look alive to me. Like they all have their personalities and the lines and the texture and all of it is just so detailed and beautiful.
and to be taught have like an extraterrestrial art teacher, like how wild is that? And I know some people could be like, oh really? But yo, Priscilla, I would argue like the narration that was written for Conscious Contact, Full Disclosure, The Ghost of Gettysburg, Secrets of the Sasquatch, all these documentaries, dude, like it, I don't know where it came from. Like it was pure inspiration, right? Like it would be no different, like whether it was divine inspiration, Ponty inspiration. I don't know where it came from, but I didn't sit down with the idea of, oh, I need to write words to narrate this movie. I'm driving my car and these would just come to me, right? And I'd
Yeah.
dictate them into my phone, or when I'd park, I'd type them out and send them to Chris, and he'd log them. I'd be like, bro, here's some potential narration. And we would just keep logging these lines until we had enough for the movie. So it's like the same deal. Like, I don't know where that came from. It came from elsewhere, for sure.
Well, they say, like Jacques Vallée, you study the phenomena will still study you back. So I'm a bit, when you work with, I've had a lot of crazy experiences too. So I totally get it. Not extraterrestrial related, but at one point I had bought a dream catcher from a gentleman that passed away, and he's Arizona native. I'm from Arizona. So it was like one of his last dream catchers. And I start having this dream of a native guy when I put it up. And he's teaching me how to use different stones for each chakra. And this is when I just started like kind of wondering like what chakras were. I wasn't far down the rabbit hole. I was more into like the spirits and alien stuff. So, but he was like, you take this one and you put it here and it'll help this chakra. And he's telling me about this chakra. And then he'd be like, now wake up and write it down. And this went on like all night. And I was like, bro, please, and you know what though? I said, hey, I had to go to sleep. I had to wake up like in 2 hours. So I did write everything. He never came back. I think that I upset him.
Dude.
Because he's here
really
teaching me the
interesting,
spiritual knowledge. And I'm like, bro, I'm tired, and he's like, okay, bye, back into the Dreamcatcher portal, I guess. But yeah, I probably should apologize to him now that I'm more awakened with how spirits work, That'd be like you telling me like, oh, I'm going to tell you about my documentary. And I'm like, okay, good night. I'm over it. You know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't want to be my friend too much longer. What about you, Chris? Have you had any craziness happening since you've been making the documentary throughout your life? Any cool things or unexplainable things?
Not UFO stuff. I have had some paranormal stuff. Like me and Tyler experienced one thing on the Ghost of Gettysburg. And then I also had something from my childhood, which was a little weird. I grew up in the same neighborhood Tyler's currently living in right now. And so the houses are exactly the same there. And there's a bedroom, where there's like the corner, it goes, and there's against the wall is a closet, but it's like halfway up. It's like at your waist. It's this closet that goes up to the attic. But when I was like, I don't know, like 8, 10 years old or something like that, I moved my bed into that corner. And so where I was laying my head, right next to me was this closet door. And I only slept there one night because I just heard voices all night long, and it was disturbing. And I don't know what it was. I could have been,
Wow.
it could have been like a hobo living in the attic or something. I have no idea. But I moved my bed back the next day. And that was something that stuck with me because it's really bizarre. And then when we were doing Ghosts of Gettysburg, we were doing some interviews, and everybody's saying, have you had any electronic issues, like electronics, because your stuff will have problems? It's like, no, we haven't had anything. We get out to the battlefield, Gettysburg battlefield, and I had this big battery box that I had got because I shoot like dance recitals and stuff, and sometimes that stuff is outside and I need to be able to plug in my cameras and stuff. And I had only used it once before. It's like a $500 thing. And I go to turn it on there, and it immediately shuts off. I'm like, what is going on here? And then Tyler had like
trying to say hi.
yeah, and then Tyler had a coffee maker because we were staying up all night and we're like desperate for coffee and stuff. And
Nice.
he's like, yeah, I've used this
My
in my
kinda
car.
guy.
Yeah, you use this in my car all the time and stuff. And we go to use that, and it wouldn't work either. I was like, what is going on? So it was just like weird.
Oh, wow. You
could
guys
say
need to get a jet
coincidence.
foil.
So I don't know what it was. It could have been coincidence. I don't know, or not. But it was weird, right? Because everybody's saying we're going to have these issues, and then we did.
Right.
So,
I mean, it will if you're
yeah.
in a very active place. Yeah, I like your guys' coffee stuff. Like, I don't even have anything crazy to do tonight, but I literally have the hillbilly. I call it the hillbilly jar.
There you
'Cause
go.
it's just literally a jar of coffee. So, I mean, I make it in a Keurig, so I'm a little bit, I'm a little bit polished, but I'm
There
like,
you go. There you go.
I'm
The thing about like conscious contact, though, is we get a lot of people talk about like the woo side of this stuff because there's like a spirituality to a lot of the stuff that people are talking about. But for me, as a more skeptical person, there's also, it makes more sense to me, this idea of directly implanting thoughts into people's heads. Because we talk about this stuff now, like communication, language, it's a really poor way of getting my thoughts to somebody else. Like it's the only way we have. It's rudimentary. I make these sounds out of my body, and then Tyler has to take those sounds and try and figure out what I'm meaning. When in my head, I can perfectly visualize or have these thoughts. And if we're a civilization that started 1,000 years before humanity or whatever, the technology growth, right? They're 1,000 years ahead or even 100 years ahead. Like ideally, that's where humanity will eventually get to, right? Like, isn't that the best way to get your thoughts to somebody else, is to literally pass them over subconsciously or, consciously? I don't know. So that's why I like when I hear like the woo thing, I'm like, yeah, I get that. It's cool because there's spirituality to it. But it also, to me, makes the most sense from a skeptic's point of view of like an alien race communicating with somebody.
Yeah, I'm on with what Curious George just said. I always bring that up, dude. Neuralink, it's like, bro, in 3 years, are we not going to be is that not telepathy?
Oh, it's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
Well, think about like the people that you're closest to. You kind of do it. Like I can look, people joke about it, but it's a real thing. Like you can look across the room at your friends and just kind of just like it's like they read your mind. Or if you're living with somebody, it gets to the point where you're like, what did you say? And they're like, I wasn't thinking out loud. You'll hear them. It's so strange. So, and that's just little glimpses of what we're getting right now in our little brain development stage that we're in. But I do believe that we're able to expand that because I don't think that we need a certain morphology to tap into this consciousness that we share with non-human intelligences, spirit world, Sasquatch even, who I love as well. So, I mean, it's just so interesting, all of it. And we think of ourselves in such a limited capacity where these bodies, we have these limitations, our brains only do this, but we forget about all of our little energetic feelers and the electricity that we make from our body has a field. People don't talk about that. So everything does. So it's really funny how people are so limited in they limit their own capabilities, if that makes any sense to me, when they think so small.
Yeah, it's weird too, because like there's just so many ways we manipulate the brain already. Like if you suffer from anxiety or depression, like you can get on a drug that helps with that because there's like an imbalance in your brain chemistry. But you can also meditate and like, I don't know, like it sounds crazy, but there is like an actual thing that happens when you do those things. Your brain is so much more powerful than people realize, I think. Again, it's just like, I think, a closed-minded thing. I think people just need to open their minds a little bit more and try these things out.
Yeah, it's like I always bring up about the placebo effect.
Yeah.
I mean, if
it works, it works, man.
It's scientifically documented. I mean, it's not going to work for everybody, but whatever. For some people, a percentage, whether it's pain medication, antidepressants, anxiety medicine, somehow, if you give them a sugar
tell that
pill,
to somebody. Tell somebody that heart feels like they think their heart's going to explode. You give them a sugar pill, and then they don't feel shitty anymore.
Well,
exactly.
You know what I mean? Who cares? It's working. It's making them feel better. It's making them feel healthy.
And that somehow that mind is controlling those pain receptors. It is, it's doing these things. It's creating, I think, therefore I am, right? Like, isn't that... I
had that experience where I know the brain can control these things because I had like this massive pain in my stomach and back for like a week, and then I was on the floor like in a fetal position dying. I'm like, oh my God, I had to go to the ER. I go to the ER and they're like, oh, it's gas. You're fine. Go home. And I'm like, okay.
Like,
I go home. Yeah, I go home. It subsides a little bit, and then it came back awful. I'm on the ground and again laying on the worst pain in my life. I go back to the ER. Again, there's nothing wrong with you. It's gas. But we'll just do this dye test, check your gallbladder and stuff out. Okay. I was like, okay. So it was like scheduled for like 3 weeks away. Eventually, the pain just goes away. I'm like, okay, I guess it was nothing. I go do this dye test. I'm like, whatever. I'm driving home from the hospital, And they call me up and they're like, you need to turn around right now, come back to the ER. Your gallbladder is blocked. Like, you need to have surgery
Oh,
right
wow.
now. And I'm like, what? I'm like,
And
you
that's so
guys kept,
painful.
yeah. And
That's so painful.
they're like, no, you need to come back. I'm like, you guys have been telling me I'm fine. And I'm like, can I go home and get clothes first? And they're like, no, you need to come now. And they're like, I get there at the ER and they're like, are you not in pain? I'm like, I don't know, not anymore. You told me there was nothing wrong with me. And they're like, you should be in so much pain. And so it was just like, I was convinced, somehow I convinced my mind I was making it up. The pain wasn't real. My mind's like, okay, pain's not real, I guess. And I didn't feel it anymore when I had this like massive blockage, and then I had my gallbladder removed that same day. So it's crazy. Like that right there proved to me like, okay, there's the power of the mind here. There is something to it.
And I think our view is like narrow, right? Like we're thinking like Chris, yeah, but dude, if another intelligent species evolved 100 to 1,000 years before us, where would they be at technological likewise? Bro, like the universe is what? I don't know, 16 billion years old, 18 billion, whatever it is. It's like teens of billions, right? Dude, what if a species has evolved 1 billion years
Yeah.
before us? Like it's
And that's just a physical
completely
aspect.
possible.
Yeah.
That's just like the
Yeah.
physical universe. We're not even thinking about, other dimensions of possible, like there's physicists say, there's other dimensions. We're not even thinking
Yeah.
about that, where everything around us is kind of governing like time, how we touch things, how heavy we are, how our body has evolved. It's all relating to Earth and its specific gravity. And what if they don't have gravity? What if they're just energy, or what if they're just lighter in general, like the animals we see in the ocean? So
No, you're right. Like, there's so many things that people apply to as like, oh, it's fake, it's supernatural, it's magic, it's not
Right.
real. And it's like, okay, but until the day science actually explains it, then they believe. But like you know what I mean? Like, keep an open mind about that stuff, because just because we don't know what it is doesn't mean it's not real and not happening. We just
Right,
haven't
right.
explained it yet. Yeah.
Discovering things every day, that's why the whole quantum witch thing happened. Is people are like, what kind of witch are you? And I'm like, well, I'm not really a green witch. I'm kind of a house witch. I'm not this kind of. I'm like, why do I have to be a kind of witch? It's all physics, anyways. Like, I really think that putting your intention out and out there, and magic as people view it, prayer even as people view it, miracles. I think it's all going to be explainable once we get the way to explain it with the different types of equipment, and it's going to take a while. But I mean, I'm kind of just hoping that everybody has an experience and we don't have to keep trying to prove things.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's going to take some people. Some people need to see it to believe it. So,
And some
Conti,
people
go
will
visit
never believe
everybody.
anything. So, yeah, exactly.
A sandwich. I am a foodie, but so yes, I'm kind of a sandwich too. Yeah. So it sounds like this journey has changed you, and I won't keep you for too much longer. Because we're coming up on the hour. I don't want to like keep you guys. I know everybody's got things to do. It's like the weekend. isn't
Whatever.
it?
You're good. You're
Okay.
Live for
You're
this.
good.
What? Yeah.
Yeah, I like hanging out. So I mean, I'm okay with going a little bit over until we're done. What it seems like you had some transformations happen in your life while making this documentary. And you had mentioned, you kind of started exploring the phenomena and telepathy, and then even trying to initiate contact with the Ponti, and you started having these things happen. What is the biggest thing that's changed for you besides all these opportunities, like on a personal level, a spiritual level, or something like that?
I think, man. So wait, what was it again? Or say that question, the last part again.
So what
has
is what
really
is like the most
changed?
personal change that's happened to you during this process? Because it sounds like both of you have had such an amazing journey. Like, what is like the biggest kind of realization or change that you've had while filming this conscious contact?
Good question. I think it's the and just this idea of, man, we can do anything we put our minds to, right? And that applies to filmmaking, but does that apply to, right? Like you mentioned, intention. Like, how did we get this beautiful documentary, Conscious Contact, Full Disclosure, picked up by 1091 Pictures? Like, I tell Chris every day, I'm like, Chris, bro, how many people do we know that would kill to get one documentary picked up by a legitimate distributor, let alone 3? And we're getting our 4th picked up here shortly. And it's like, dude, you know, I feel like this is fate, destiny, right? Somehow, like, all these events happen to where we're on Quantum Witch Cafe with you, Pricilla. And I would have never thought that in a billion years. And so I think maybe one of the I guess probably the biggest thing that I've learned is to be open to, like, what the universe's journey, right? And not be set in my ways and have set expectations. Because if I would have had expectations or grand ideas of how to execute all these things to get where we're at today, I would have failed miserably. But the fact that Chris and I followed our hearts, really, I hate to say, like, sound corny, but we just, yeah.
No, I mean, it's true though. Like,
there's nothing wrong with corny. Yeah. It's just people are so off put by people expressing their happiness and blessings. It's you don't have to do that here. If it's corny, it's not corny. It's real. This is what you're feeling. This is what's happening. So, so please express it.
We experienced that with In Plain Sight. Like, how long we were waiting. We're like, we need this one more interview, and you kept saying, like, oh, it'll come. We'll put that out there in the universe, and it'll come. That pendulum keeps swinging. It's gonna come. And then we landed, Rick Doty, which was perfect for the documentary. So, like, I don't know. For me, it's just so cool hearing all these people from all over the country and some of the world, and it's like their personal stories and their experiences, and, like, I don't know, it's like the same thing of, like, if you go travel somewhere and, like, see, like, a different culture and, like, oh, this is so much different than my life, and it opens your mind to these things and the world being different than what you think it is in a lot of ways. So that's what I like. But also, I get to flex a lot of creativity with this stuff, and so it's super fun. Like, it's fun for me to edit. It's, like, tedious to some people, but, like, I love it. I love crafting these movies. But then also, like, we're gonna do this Ghost in the Graveyard film where we're gonna go camp out at some haunted graveyards and stuff, and I'm really excited for that. Just because not only,
sounds like a fun experience.
Yeah, exactly. It's just gonna be super fun to go do, and hopefully we experience something. If we don't, that's okay, because we're going to invite random people we don't know, probably, meet some people. Like, it's just going to be cool. Like, life is so short. Like, and I don't know. I'm in my mid-30s now, so, like, I want to do stuff. Like, I'm tired of waiting and wasting time. Like, so many filmmakers just wait around. They're waiting for the permission to make something. They're waiting for money. They're waiting for something. Just tired of waiting. Just go and make stuff. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It sounds like it's giving you just, like, a kind of a kick in the ass, because it's so it was so inspiring to you, and in the best way possible. That's awesome. If anybody has any questions, get them in here. I saw Curious George said, what's the documentary about and what's the Ponte? And he said, where is it available to stream?
Yeah, I mean, the documentary is just 5 experiencers and their personal experiences, but they're all similar in a lot of ways, which I didn't know when we were going into it, because, like I said, I wasn't there for the interview. So when I put them in the Premiere Timeline, which is a video editing software, like, it's just this cut together very naturally, because a lot of the same topics and subjects came up within all their interviews, even though they were maybe saying or describing them in different terms and ways, especially with, like, Clifford Mahouty versus Anjali and stuff. But the ideas are the same, which was super interesting to me. So, like, it just came together super easily. And I think it's really entertaining, really compelling. I hope that there is some new information and nuggets in this thing for experienced people like yourself, Pricilla, or other people who watch a lot of alien stuff. Like, I hope there's still new stuff in here. But also, if you're not, like, experienced with UFOs, that this is something that is going to, like, bring you into this world and make you more interested in it. So that's Conscious Contact, full disclosure, and it's available on Amazon, iTunes, Google Play, Vudu, Xbox, and PlayStation platforms. So pretty much anywhere where you can find a movie. Absolutely. And if you watch it, please leave a review. one that helps out the movie, but we also want to hear from you guys or reach out to us on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, all that stuff. Dockside Media. Leave us a message. Tell us what you think. We're just looking to connect with everyone. And yeah,
Absolutely.
if you got a story, if you experienced something, please reach out. We'd love to hear from you.
I put the link in the description too, so
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
it should be there, and that should take you guys everywhere. And if you want me to add any other links, I can do that too later. I can always add to it. But I just put the one that was in your bio on Twitter on there, because that's usually like a good one to, like, just when you find the website, you can find everything else, I feel like. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's great that you are on Amazon, because that's instant gratification for people that want to watch it, especially
Sure.
tonight. Like, people want to sit down
Yeah.
and watch something interesting.
But it is true.
Yeah,
like
it's on
sorry, go ahead.
No, you do. You go ahead.
I was going to say, it is true. Like, I mean, you just experienced this earlier, Pricilla, where like somebody gave you a tip or whatever. Like, when you're creative and you're putting yourself out there and you're trying to get people engaged and watching, like, one of the most deflating things is not hearing anything from anyone. Like, no feedback at all. Like, I don't know, maybe it's my ego or my narcissism, where like when I create something, I just want people to let me know what they think. Do you know what I mean? It's what drives you in a lot of ways. And so that's why I'm like, put a review out there or just reach out to us, because I just it's so motivating when you know people like engage with your stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, so Conscious Contact, full disclosure, it's on Amazon, Apple TV, iTunes, Google Play, PlayStation, Microsoft, and Vudu. And then Pricilla, we'll get you a link, an advanced screener for The Ghost of Gettysburg. But
Oh yeah, you'll
for
have
other
to come back
people,
for sure.
yeah, that's available now too on all those same platforms. And
Yeah, we'll have to have a ghost talk night for sure, because I love it. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
dude, I think you'll love it. I think you would have been. I think you're gonna be like, dude, the next time you do a haunted camp out, let me be there. Because
Well, hopefully I will be on that side of town, and I will be in Pennsylvania. A friend's dad's graduating from Carlisle, this
there
military
you
school
go.
in Carlisle, or he's retiring, not graduating. He's retiring, so we're gonna be there, and it's a beautiful state, so there's a lot to see. But yeah, I will
Yeah.
be on that side of the country, so
well,
let's
and
do some.
Carlisle is like close, like relatively
close,
close,
yeah.
like an hour.
Well,
So,
being in the military, you're used to driving. Like, like we lived in Alaska, I lived in Fairbanks. So to go to anywhere, it was minimum 8 hours. So to us, that's like,
Wow.
you're going to do something. It's not like you're just driving for 8 hours or stuck in traffic for 8 hours.
True.
You're taking a road trip. There's nothing better than road trips, guys. Like, seriously.
Exactly. Well, that's like, yo. So I just went and interviewed Richard Doty, and it was out in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I fly in, my flight gets in late. It's delayed. Rental car, like I miss, end up having to get some real like expensive one, whatever. Didn't let it get me down. But the part of the story is so where I'm at, the person's like, oh, you can come stay here. I'm like, oh no, baby, I don't care if it's 11 o'clock at night right now. Yo, I got to get down to Roswell, right? It's only a 3.5 hour drive.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's totally not worth it. 3.5 hours down, 3.5 hours back, and you're doing this interview like the next day at like 1 p.m. And I'm just like, yo, well, one, I've never been to Roswell, so that makes
Right.
it worth it. Two, yo, instead of getting stock B-roll, like off some company's website that we
Right.
would license it from, bro, we can get our own B-roll. Throw the drone up. You know what I mean? And so that's what I did. And I'm like in the same boat as you. Is like, dude, I enjoy the adventure. Like, I don't mind the lack of sleep. Like, this is yeah, once in a lifetime stuff, man. Sleeping on the side of a
Yeah.
road on a pull off in a car, like trying not to freeze
Yeah.
to death, so you can get a shot of the sun rising with the drone in Roswell. Over, it's just like
That's amazing.
It fires me up, man. How can you not get
Oh, yeah.
pumped about that stuff? So we hope
So
our
is
stuff.
it-
The movies,
Sorry.
like that kind of passion comes through in the movies.
He's not been able to find it in Canada. So is that a...
So Conscious Contact, and then the colon, full disclosure.
Yeah. If you
Maybe
Google,
on Amazon, you might have to type in. It depends. If you're searching Amazon Prime, like Prime Video, if you put in Conscious Contact full disclosure, it'll bring it up. If you're just searching Amazon, sometimes depending on what your search
yeah.
history is, etc., you got to put or Conscious Contact full disclosure documentary. You have to like add documentary at the end, and then it pulls it up. Curious George, yo, hit me up, Tyler at docksidemedia.com. You can send me an email. Come hell or high water, bro. If you want to see this, I will see to it that you're watching it in Canada. I mean, we're seeing it's being viewed in Norway, Australia. Like it was translated into 6 different languages or something like that. So I can't believe they would have done Canada dirty like that.
Right, I know. Canada's right next door. Yeah, George is really supportive of like a lot of the channels here too. He's a great guy, so we got to get him able to watch it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, what are you guys working on now? So, we've talked about Conscious Contact. You need to watch it. And if you have a problem, you can contact them on Twitter, or you can contact me, or whatever you want to do. But so, you said your work. You have the Ghost of Gettysburg, right, coming up, or is it out already?
That is out. Yeah, it's out now.
That's
Same
out.
places.
Okay.
So yeah, just on Amazon,
Okay.
all that stuff.
Nice. And then what are you all working on right now? What is your latest? What is your ongoing project? I guess.
Secrets of the Sasquatch. That's
Love
done.
it.
All the assets are delivered, and that will be available. July 5th is the tentative date for that. Again, that was a sick doc, dude. Where we're interviewing an anthropologist, experiencers, a bunch of experiencers. We did 2 campouts, right? We're putting up like Sasquatch traps. We got thermal cameras, and dude, it was like once in a lifetime experience, man. Once in a lifetime. And then Chris does his magic, man, and strings this together into this really, really sick doc. Jesse Peak, what's up, bro?
Jesse
in the chat.
Hello.
So Jesse Peak, we went. We interviewed him. He's a MUFON field investigator.
Very cool.
Right. And so he is in plain sight, the intelligence community and UFOs. That doc Chris just started editing, and that has Jesse Peak in it. It has Richard Doty, right, who was, for people not familiar, he
Kind
was
of a
in
big-
the Air Force Office of Special Investigations. So that was an awesome time sitting down to interview him, right? And I just like John Ramirez, if you're familiar.
I love John. Yeah, I had him on. He's such a great
thought,
guy.
yeah, you had him
just
on,
like
right?
through and through, just a great guy.
Absolutely. I interviewed him for it. Tom Carey, who's written like 12, I think his newest novel, Witness to Roswell.
Ooh, that's a new book. It's all shiny.
Yeah, I wish the camera would focus on it. It's like just focused on my face. But yeah, the 75th anniversary edition. That's the 12th, Roswell novel he's written. He's like interviewed over 600 witnesses to Roswell, both first and second hand. And then Eric Mintel from Eric Mintel Investigates. So that's just going to be a really awesome doc as well. And from there, those are all the docs that we have shot. And then, as Chris mentioned, we're going to do one called Ghost in the Graveyard. We're not sure. There is like a ghost town with some paranormal activity there. It's an old town called Pandemonium. So I feel like that almost makes for a great name, right? Ghost in the Graveyard, pure pandemonium. So I feel like we're going to camp out there and then interview people who've had experiences there, right? We'll get separate interviews of them. And then also, I feel like I'm trying to manifest a remote viewing documentary. That came up while interviewing Richard Doty here last week, which was super sick. I always bring that up during the Conscious Contact Full Disclosure podcast because I'm like, look, dude, is telepathy, is consciousness, is there something more to all this? Well, the government spent 2 decades and millions of dollars studying remote viewing, and the documents say, oh, it's not like 100%, but like if it say the coin flip is 50% and the remote viewing odds end up making it 54%, well, dude, there's something to it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So I think we'll probably do a remote viewing documentary here. And then also like a reincarnation, past life regression documentary. I think we're
Oh
gonna
my
start
goodness. You guys have
filming
so much
those
good
as
stuff
well.
coming. That's
Dude, we love
awesome.
it. We're just exploring life's mysteries, trying to get people pumped up, and just looking into this stuff. And I think the more people open to it and looking into it, the more that it's part of like public discourse and like yeah, I think it allows, well, just it makes more things possible, man. The more that stuff's voiced into the universe, maybe we get some cool, sick disclosure from the
Yes,
government that,
yes.
like,
Because people have to be ready for it. So I think the more
Mm-hmm.
we
they
talk
do.
about it, and they have to come, people are like, well, we don't have this much evidence. We don't have that. Well, because the stigma, once we break down the stigma, more people are going to come forward. And the more people come forward, the more likely it is for you to get something that's tangible for whatever you need, or
Mm-hmm.
more data points. There's not a bad data point. Even if you don't believe it, it's still a piece of information that you have to evaluate. So I'm very excited to see what you guys do. You have wonderful passion, wonderful energy, and very good at what you
Oh, thank
do.
you.
So thank you so much for coming on. And will you be on any podcasts coming up?
Um, yeah, who do we have lined up here? We've got
We have one
the
coming up. Go ahead, Tyler.
the Convergence Enigma with Josh and Stefan
Okay.
on May 19th at like 9 p.m.
Yeah, and we've been on a bunch recently as well. And if reach out to us. We love coming on talking about all this kind of stuff. So, and yeah, it was Pricilla. Thank you so much for having us, and we'd love
Thank
to
you for
come
coming.
back, talk about
Oh,
ghosts in the
absolutely.
graveyard, talk about ghosts of Gettysburg, talk
Yeah.
about
I'm all about
secrets
all
of the
the spooky
Sasquatch.
stuff.
So
I like it
yeah,
all. So you are welcome back anytime.
thank you.
Um, and yes, thanks for coming too, Tyler. Before we say our final goodbye, I want to make sure that everybody knows about two channels that I love these girls. Please follow Alien Girl 111 if you're not
Hmm.
following her already, because she gives like a morning show. I feel like that's the first UFO morning show I've ever seen. She does like the daily news, tech, sci-fi, UFO, not sci-fi, but UFO. And then after that, we have Lynn Wallington with Rebellious Ufology, and she does the lineup. So if you're wondering like what podcasts are on tonight, who's going to be on them, what are they about, Rebellious Ufology does that, and it falls at 8 p.m. Eastern. And I think that Alien Girls is at 8 a.m. Eastern, and Alien Girls is at 7 a.m. Eastern. And you can translate that. I'm an Eastern person, so but their links are in my channel description if you want to follow those. Well, Tyler and Chris, thank you so much. Hang out for a minute afterwards.
Hmm.
And thanks again to everybody that was in the live chat tonight, sharing and just showing up. I really appreciate your support in any way. And if you're listening on Anomalous Podcast Network later on, audio only, thank you so much. Please leave your feedback where you can. Like, subscribe, share, and all that stuff. Have a beautiful night.